Bill O'Reilly here. Nice to see all you concierge and premium members, even though I can't see you. We are doing a special on confronting evil, as you know, answering your questions, and they're good questions. So, may I introduce to you, to quote Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Josh Hammer. There he is in his nice little blazer. I'm in a casual mode tonight.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Brooklyn, New York. I'm very happy to be here for my broadcast.
You know, when you live in Brooklyn, you're happy to be anywhere.
I'm happy to be in my apartment.
My father, born and raised in Brooklyn, as people know. So Hammer's going to jump in, and I just want to explain all the other books that we have written. Martin Dugard was the researcher and the co-author. And Dugard has gone out on his own. He's writing a series, Taking London, Taking Midway, a history series. So I had to find a replacement, and Hammer is my radio researcher. So we do the radio commentaries and all that, and Hammer's, so I figured, let me give him a shot on this. And he did very well, I think. The book is crisp, and Hammer really didn't have much choice to do well because I know where he lives, and I would have gone over there, and there would have been trouble.
We had a good time.
Very well, yeah. Now, as I said, the questions are good. I'll go slowly over them, and then when I need you, Hammer, I'll call you in. Okay?
I'm here. Yep.
So Betty's in Tucson, Arizona, where it's about to turn nice. So if you live in southern Arizona, most of Arizona, except if you go up to Flagstaff up there, but it is so hot. A lot of people like that. But right in the middle of October, then it really turns nice out there. All right, so Betty asks, how is it that Saddam Hussein and Kim Jong-un were not included in confronting evil? Because their evil was localized. And Saddam Hussein, as evil as it gets, just in that Mesopotamia area. He didn't break out. Whereas the Ayatollah, right across, Iran's evil broke out all over the place. All right, so that was the difference. Kim Jong-un, he's isolated in North Korea. He's a nut. But he doesn't really have much to do with anybody else. And that's how we made the determination. Roberta, Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, Joe Namath's hometown. I found your book compelling and depressing. Couldn't put it down, however. My question is on the robber barons. Don't you think if not for them, the U.S. may not be the industrialized nation that it is today? No, I don't feel that way, Roberta. We're a people, the American people are very innovative. I mean, Alexander Graham Bell, invented the telephone. Did he brutalize thousands of people? No. And I had to put the barons in to get some good in the book because Theodore Roosevelt, as president, defeated the robber barons. He knew how evil they were. So, Hammer, when you were researching that chapter about the robber barons, did you agree with me that these guys should have been included in the book?
Absolutely. I think that they serve an interesting purpose in that these evil men did do some good things throughout their lives. I think they each donated $500 million to various causes and colleges and hospitals and medical research. But at the same time, they represent the evil of exploitation. And like you said, other businessmen and owners did not do what they did. They intentionally spiked oil prices to make money.
And they never really apologized.
Never.
And the reason they gave the money was to buy their way into heaven.
That's right. And these guys were sending 8-year-olds into 2-foot wide tunnels in Pennsylvania to get coal, or they're having these men work on these oil fields and they're exploding, they're catching on fire, and they're doing it for money.
And they could have put in safety mechanisms, and they didn't.
Of course. And they later did, and they still made a fortune.
So they have a rightful place in the book, in our opinion. So we go to Lou in Willoughby, Ohio. I'm fascinated with tales you provide in the book. Knowing that Caligula had brown eyes certainly shows you dug deep. My question is, do you get an opportunity to look at original documents, or are you dependent on copies of ancient writings? So how did you find out Caligula had brown eyes?
Well, I can't read Latin, so the original documents would not have been well suited for me. But there are lots of primary sources, and for the Caligula chapter, we used a lot of the writings from the ancient historian Suetonius, could be pronounced Suetonius, and he wrote a book called The 12 Caesars. And he wrote the book at about 121 AD, which is about 80 years after the death of Caligula. And he kept meticulous notes. He interviewed people that lived alongside of him. And he was known as a bit of a sensationalist, a bit of a gossipy guy. But he wrote down what the lives were like of the Caesars. And that's where you get these incredible tales of the parties, the executions, his bloodlust. But you can't stop there.
Now, it's worth pointing out that because that book was written so close to Caligula's death,
correct,
Rome had not been sacked yet.
No.
So when Rome was sacked by the barbarians, they burned the town down. And a lot of the history, the contemporary history, went up in flames. So Hammer was smart enough to ferret out somebody who had written it down before all of that chaos, and then that had been preserved. So we did Killing Jesus. We did the same
that's
thing.
That's the starting point. So Suetonius was known as a gossipy guy, a little bit of a sensationalist. So we didn't take everything he said at face value. Then you start digging into who he's talking about, who he's mentioning. He's mentioning these parties at these villas, and then he's mentioning these senators' names. You go back, and these senators are writing letters to each other about how great the party was.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
There were a lot of Jeffrey Epsteins in ancient Rome under Caligula.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. Rich from San Diego. In confronting evil, you don't have any women. Why not? Who would you say are some of the evil women of the past? I tried to find a female presence to rise to that level. I couldn't come close. Couldn't come close. And a lot of that is because in history, women didn't have the power to cause the immense amount of damage that the guys did. So the way all my books are structured is I decide on a topic. And then within the book, I outline the book, okay? And I say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then I send it to Dugard or Hammer, and I said, this is where you guys research. But in my putting together of confronting evil, I said, it's not, I got 15 miscreants, and they're all male. I got to get a woman in there. Couldn't do it. Now, there have been bad queens, Bloody Mary, Marie Antoinette, people like that. But they weren't even close to the guys that we selected. Matthew Dubuque, Iowa writes, if you had added one more evildoer to the book, who would it have been? Very good question, Matthew. Probably Fidel Castro. Even though Castro was a dictator of a small island, Cuba, what he did there caused an unbelievable migration all over the Western Hemisphere, and America was the main part of that because people had to flee his horror. And then he got involved with the Soviet Union that almost led to nuclear war with Khrushchev and JFK. That's how evil Castro was. All right? So he was playing that game with the Russians, and then, JFK stared them down, but that could have been. The Russians had rockets in Cuba, 90 miles away from Florida. So it would have been Fidel. Donald, Roseville, California. Who do you think is the most evil person in the book? It's a tie. No. The worst mass murderer is Mao Zedong. And I remember Hammer saying to me, can you believe this guy? Starving his own people? That was an eye-opener for you, right?
Yes, the indifference to killing his own people was absolutely shocking. And the conditions to which he put them in, where they're eating rats, they're starving to death, and he could not care less. In fact, he was pleased that it was happening because it reduced the population.
Right. That's why he instituted that.
Yeah.
What he wanted, Mao Zedong, number one, was a coward. So he didn't fight against Chiang Kai-shek. He stayed in the mountains with his guerrilla band.
Correct.
They went out, fought. It wasn't like Genghis Khan or any of these guys who were in the fray. They say that Hitler was a coward. Hitler wasn't a coward. He
That's
won
right.
the Iron Cross when he was 19 in World War I. But in the end, they're all cowards because they show no remorse or anything like that. But Mao Zedong, really, really bad guy. And he wanted Beijing, the capital, to control the food supply because that was power. So he went out and he took all the food, his soldiers took all the food away from the farmers who grew it. They had nothing to eat. It's not like they get down to 7-Eleven. There's no 7-Eleven.
That's right. That's right. Also, he worshipped the agrarian lifestyle. He loved the countryside. He loved the farmers. So when he moved all of the urban people, he thought it would be good for them in an ideological sense, for them to go out to the countryside and have them work on the farms. Well, they don't know how to work on the farm.
No.
And so it turns out when you take
on
a farm,
I'd last 3 days.
if you put me on the farm, you're not going to get a lot of crops out of it.
And here's something interesting. I've said this before. When I went over to Beijing in May at the request of the Chinese government, there's pictures of Mao everywhere.
Yeah.
Today. Can you imagine somebody killing 20 million Americans? And that's how many Chinese Mao Zedong killed. And there's pictures everywhere in the state.
They don't know.
I mean, it's inconceivable. Right.
Yeah.
But the Chinese people don't know. They don't know what happened. Let's go to William in Marlton, New Jersey. Can my mature 12-year-old son read Confronting Evil? I'd give him a couple of more years. I'd say 14. And the reason is he could understand it okay, but it might rattle him. So I believe in keeping kids as long as you can keep them kids. You know, not inject the horrors of the world on them. I'd say 14. What do you think, Hammer?
I think it depends on the 12-year-old. I mean, the book it's not gratuitously violent, but it is violent. And we do not hide away from showing you what those scenes are like. You know, one of the most interesting scenes, I think, in the book is the killing of the Romanov family. And it does not shy away from the horror of it. But 12 might be a little too young.
A little? Oh, man. That's Stalin.
I don't know what they're watching these
Russian
days,
Revolution
12-year-olds on television.
Yeah. No, I know they're subjected to it, but if it were me, I'd say 14 would be the cutoff. Dave from Lakewood Beach, Florida. Does Josh Hammer, you, or both do the research, then hands it off to you to write? So I'm the storyteller. All right? That's how the books go down. I've got that Irish storytelling thing going on here. Always had it. Never took a writing class in my life. We Irish, some of us, are blessed with Blarney. I certainly have that. And then we can tell the story. And then Hammer gets my story and then edits. He says, you know, this might go here better and stuff like that. So he's involved with it, but I'm the storyteller. He's the researcher. Rob, Tulsa, Oklahoma. How much weight did you put on whether subjects of the book believe themselves to be evil or good? Did you see any of them, did any of them see themselves as evil and relish as much? That's an interesting question. Number one, none of them had remorse that we could find. None of them had, when they died, said, "Ah, gee, I shouldn't have done that." No. They're all making excuses until they left the planet. We didn't include any, well, they knew this or they knew that, because that would require us getting inside their head. And I know they do that, but we don't. We can't tell you, what they were thinking about the individual deeds. We can tell you, and I think Hammer will expound on this a little bit, Hitler wouldn't go to the conference that decided the Jews are going to be exterminated. He knew that was an unbelievable war crime. He didn't want to have anything to do. He didn't go. And he could have. He was only 10 miles away. His henchmen went, but not him. So that tells us, as historians, that he knew the extermination camps and the campaigns against the Jews and the communists and the gypsies and the gays. He knew. He didn't want to be associated.
Not only did he not want to be there.
That accurate?
Yes. Not only did he not want to be in the building, he demanded that they destroy every record of the conversation, which is somewhat unusual for the Nazis, that kept pretty meticulous records of everything. I mean, you look at even the concentration camps, they're logging who's going in there, the last names, the date of death, the number on the arm. This conference was no one was ever supposed to know that this happened.
And
period.
not only that, but if you were working for Hitler, so if you were a general or one of the SS or anything like that, and you didn't do exactly what you were told,
that's it.
Done. You're dead.
Yep.
No trial. You just executed. But after the war, people who were there or in prison, Nuremberg, they wrote about the Wannsee Conference. That's how we got it.
There's one copy of notes that exists from the Wannsee Conference that survived Eichmann burning the records when everybody left. There was one summary of the notes that is now in the Yad Vashem Museum in Israel. And you could see that online. We cite where that is in the book. And that's where you go, boom, boom, boom. Note by note, what they had for lunch, who's making jokes, who drank too much beer, who took a bathroom break. And this is where we're going to decide how many Jews go on each train. And then we're going to take a break, smoke some cigarettes, have some brandy. Then we're going to talk about what we do with the people that are over 65. And the evil, just the cold nature of these seemingly smart, cultured men talking about this is one of the more chilling things I think I've encountered in the book.
Yeah, it's staggering.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Smart men.
What was that?
Let's just say smart men. They're having conversations about Bach and architecture, and then talking about how fast you could gas these people and what you're going to do with the bodies, and then let's have a break. And
Yeah, but some of the most intellectual people on earth are some of the most evil.
Absolutely.
I mean, that doesn't equate. Sharon, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Bill, in history, how many of the evildoers are actually substance abusers? Drugs and alcohol have been around forever. That addictions fuel the intensity of their actions. Well, we get into Hitler. He's a drug addict. Caligula took anything. Who else? Who else is involved?
Henry
VIII, constantly drunk. Who else? Can you, off the top of your head, was impacted by substance?
Khan, no. The slavers, alcohol.
Right.
Henry was drunk constantly. Forrest, no. Hitler, for sure. Mao was drunk frequently, and the cartels, absolutely.
Okay, thanks for reminding me that. The drug cartels use their own product.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's probably the best example of good question. Sharon. Brian, St. Helena Island, South Carolina. Now, one of the historical figures in the book personally killed millions of people, but their minions did. Does the potential for evil reside in all of us? No. 15% people who are active, they enjoy it. As we define in the book, evil is when you hurt another human being on purpose and you feel no remorse. But there's level of evil. So in my media career, 50 years, I could have written 10 books confronting evil in the media. I could fill 10 books. All right? Evil, just awful. Awful, awful people. And names you know. Okay? But the level of evil, even though it was consistent, they did it all the time, didn't rise to the Holocaust or the drug cartels. So that's what I call individual evil. But it's a good question you're asking, Brian. The potential for evil, and the best example is the German people. So German Americans, the biggest ethnic group in this country right now. If you go to Germany, I've been all over the country, there's not a lot of physical difference between Caucasian Americans and Caucasian Germans. They're not. Culturally, there's a difference, but not huge. Okay? So the German people voted 90% in 1934 to give this lunatic Hitler total power to do whatever he wanted, even after he writes a book saying, if I get power, I'm going to wipe everybody out. Now, that was the evil. That vote was evil. So I guess you could say that everybody has a capacity, but it's a stair-step kind of thing. You concur with that, Hammer?
Yeah, I do. I think the chapter that really explores that is the slavers. And I think what's so interesting about that chapter, it's my favorite chapter of the book. And I think what's so interesting about it is these are not men that were really born into a Southern plantation lifestyle where your family is involved and it's been in your family, and you're in a situation where what are you going to do? You're going to free your slaves, and then you're going to be homeless, and you can almost see how that in everybody, people will go along with that. A lot of people will go along with that if you're born into it. You don't know better. You don't. What are you going to do? Move to New York? You live in Virginia. But these men took it. They took it to a level that was pure evil because they were not involved really in the plantation lifestyle. They just realized that they can make money off selling human beings.
I think that having written Killing Lincoln, there were a lot of Southerners who were fighting, and they knew they were fighting for the wrong thing. They did it anyway.
Yeah.
They knew.
Yeah. And so I think that it is in every person. But like you said, there's degrees to which people are willing to go.
All right, Carol's in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm reading the book, and I find it hard to put down. Did that have an effect on you when you were writing it? No. I've seen evil up close. I know what it is. I covered 4 wars, and, I've seen it. I know what it is. So when I'm writing, I'm disciplined. I tell the story. I don't have nightmares about the story. I'm that kind of a person. So I've always been that way. I've always been able to confront stuff that's unpleasant, that other people would never, ever get involved with. I've always been able to do that. If you want to be a good journalist, you got to be able to do that. You have to absorb it. And if you let it get to you, and a lot of them do, you're not going to be good. American homeowners, the FBI has been warning all of us about a type of real estate fraud called title theft. The target, your equity. With just a forged signature, ownership can be transferred out of your name, and without protection in place, you are facing an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner up with Home Title Lock. You can find out today if you are already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you are a victim of fraud, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL, or use the link below. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL. Adam is in Baltimore, Maryland. If you could sit down with one evil person and interview them, who would you pick? That's easy for me, Putin. And every time Putin told a lie, we'd have electrodes set up so he gets zapped. So he'd have to tell the truth or he'd get electric shocks. But Putin, this guy is so off the chart evil. I mean, I'm just sitting there. And I've had more than a few conversations with President Trump about him, about Putin. And everybody knows it. Everybody saw my 2016 interview, 2017 interview with him, with Trump. And I got a note from the Russian ambassador to Washington saying that Putin wanted to meet me. So I go, okay, but he has to come to my house. I'm not going over there because I'd be poisoned. And I'm not kidding. If, that's who Putin is. Who would you interview one-on-one if you had somebody to interview?
Oh, boy. Of everyone in the book, he is not a main character in the book, but I think it would be Heinrich Himmler. I find Himmler an interesting character in the book. I find what he embraced as Germany was falling apart, the pseudo occult religious, where he convinced himself that these ancient pagan deities were going to save the German people, that would replace Christianity, and Europe would forever be part of this new Nazi religion, is just so out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these people are running a country.
He is a starring role in Killing the SS.
Yeah.
Himmler.
Oh, yeah.
And Himmler thought he was going to get away. And he almost did. But he had to do the cyanide thing. It was in his tooth. They found him. He knew that, he was going to be hung. Brian, Palmetto, Florida, with China's Xi, along with Putin having access to large-scale nukes, both could initiate a catastrophe. Do you think the possibility of that becomes more and more realistic? With Putin, it does, because he's psychotic. Xi doesn't want that. She wants to go down in history as the greatest Chinese leader. That's what she wants. Problem with that is you got to get Taiwan back to make it happen. But Putin, anything. He could do anything. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Putin would use nukes if his back was against the wall. I think he's capable of absolutely anything. I think that we kind of trace why he is the way he is as we go through the book, and I think the only thing he fears is his own personal demise.
And I concur 100% with that. James, San Antonio, Texas. Evil is real. After your research and experience, you think evil is physical and mental condition one is born with? Or is it environmental? Both. You can be born evil. That's the Cain and Abel story in Genesis, and it's there for a reason in the beginning of the Bible. So there's no reason like Cain kills his brother. There's 4 people in the world. I mean, come on. You want some company? What are you doing? But that's why that story, and it's an allegory, of course, but that's why the story's there. Because people who will do that. Now, environmental, Putin might be an environmental guy. Horrible childhood. Awful. We trace it right through. But it looks like he was born bad to me. So I would lean more in that direction. How about you, Hammer?
Yeah, I think it's both, but I agree with you. I think that you're born with a disposition towards one or the other, but I think that your life experiences shape that. But it's in your mind. I think I agree with you. Putin was born of an angry person, a vindictive person, a person that was willing to use violence. There's a lot of people born into his conditions in the 1950s in the Soviet Union that did not turn into maniac dictators.
Yeah.
So, but I think that was always inside him. I mean, we get into his how he relishes stomping rats to death, which he probably would have done for free, but he did it for candy and pocket change.
Right.
But that's a particular kind of kid.
He was sadistic from the word go, and that's a sign of evil, sadism. We got Jim from Willard, Missouri, who in the book was most convinced he was a good guy. Ayatollah Khomeini. Not even close. Struts in there, God told me to come in and kill all the infidels, God this, God that, inshallah, blah, 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 hiding behind it. We'll blow everybody up to hell, but we don't care because Allah told me to do it. There you go. Anybody? I don't think anybody competes with that.
I have one for you. Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Go.
On his deathbed, he said, this is a man who massacres black troops because they're black during the Civil War, goes out, starts the KKK, becomes the first Grand Wizard, immiserates generations of black people throughout the South for decades. And on his deathbed, he says, God knows that I was right.
Yeah, God knows that I was right. That's a good observation. I had an interviewer in Nashville, Tennessee, tell me Bedford wasn't that bad.
Oh, I see comments about that online all the time. People think that the Fort Pillow massacre was orchestrated by Lincoln.
Yeah.
To make
that's
it
a
look
form
bad.
of evil, too, living in a delusionary world and spreading untruths. It might fall into that category. Rehoboth Beach, Joe Biden territory, Matthew. Many describe current politicians as evil, such as Biden, Trump, Clinton. Isn't there a difference between evil and incompetence? Of course. I don't think Joe Biden's evil. I think he's incompetent. Now, you could make an argument that his apathy towards solving any problem whatsoever kind of borders on evil. But you could make an argument that Trump's evil. You could make that argument. But neither of them are. And I think that Trump is doing a lot more good for the country than Biden is doing or did. Edward, Santa Clara, California, in Misery Loves Company, the underlying message of all evil. Seeing a common pattern where none of these people were spiritually happy, so they deteriorated further into the darkness. You know where the Misery Loves Company thing is best played out here as far as evil is concerned? Right here. It used to be the miscreants, they were isolated. They were pariahs. Nobody wanted to be with them. Now they got a club. They find their own level of people right here with a clique. And they're justifying all of this garbage. And it makes it a lot easier for the evildoers. So this is a great research tool. We use it for that, but it's also got an evil downside like crazy. Ronald is Gulf Shores, Alabama. How did you select the people to cover in your book? All of them have to tie in to our lives today. So you can say, how did Genghis Khan, how did he tie into my life in Gulf Shores, Alabama? Here it is. And this is why we're the best-selling nonfiction authors in the world. This answer right now. Genghis Khan raided from the Pacific Ocean, Western Pacific Ocean, border of China. Okay, you go to the beach, you're in China, all the way to Hungary, up as far north as Russia, down as far as Thailand, south. He killed the Mongol warriors on horseback, killed millions of people, cut their heads off, little kids. They didn't care. You couldn't surrender. If the order was kill everybody, everybody died. The Chinese erected the Great Wall. It was one of the things I saw in May when I was over there. It's amazing. To keep the Mongol warriors out. That wall, you could see the whole thing, how it was constructed. The paranoia, the fear of foreigners that Genghis Khan instilled in the Chinese people is still there today. How about that? And it's one of the reasons that China has never had a day of freedom, never one day in the entire Chinese history have those people had freedom. They're so afraid of the foreigners that they always went to the strong men, always went to the dictators. So every one of our miscreants, all 15 of them, have influenced us today. You didn't know that, Hammer. I don't think I ever told you that story, did I?
No, you did not. It's makes sense. A little side note about the Khan chapter. That was the hardest chapter to research because they did not keep a lot of records. They were riding around on their horses. They were going all over the steppe. They were going over the plains. But the people that they killed kept the records.
Right.
So the Arab historians wrote about the massacres. The Eastern Europeans wrote about the massacres. And the one person that wrote the most about it was Marco Polo, who went over to China and became friends with Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan. And for 17 years, they exchanged letters. And we cite a lot of those letters in the book. And that's where he tells the story of his grandfather's death march and all these fascinating things. So the Mongols did not keep a lot of records, but the people they killed did.
Right. And the Persians, who were subjugated by Genghis Khan, were excellent record keepers. Iran today. All right, two more. And again, these are great questions. Thank you very much. Very good questions, I think. Raymond Escondido, California. Mr. Reilly, I have a question about what happened in Japan at the end of the war. Japanese military committed brutal atrocities against Allied prisoners of war and everybody else. Everybody else. Why was this evil not dealt with the way it should have been? 16 Japanese military and officials were tried for war crimes. Okay? I'm sorry. 30 Japanese were tried for war crimes. 7 were executed. 16 life in prison. The rest of them either died in prison before they got sentenced or they got lighter sentences. So they were, but it didn't get the publicity in Japan that the Nuremberg trials got in Germany. And the Japanese military were worse than the German military. The Wehrmacht didn't execute. And sometimes they did, but very rare. It was the SS that did that. They were two separate military bodies. Wehrmacht could take you prisoner. Okay, that's Hogan's Heroes. You're in the Luftwaffe ran the prison camps. So the military and the German, they would take you prison. Japanese not taking anybody prison. Very, very few. They're just slaughtering you. Because they didn't have the infrastructure to get you to the mainland. And just boom, 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 boom. And civilians, look at the Chinese. Look what they did to them, the Japanese. So I was thinking about putting Tojo on the list, but I wanted to diversify a little bit out of World War II. We had Stalin in there, we had Hitler in there, a little too much World War II in there. All right, last question, James, Laguna Hills, California. Bill, what do you think the most evil act of all time is? Judas betraying Jesus? What would be worse? Well, if you're a religious person, that might be it. And there's a reason that's in all the Gospels, that Judas story. A big reason that that's there, because every human being is betrayed. And every act of betrayal is an act of evil. But again, it's that stair step. But I think the Holocaust was probably the worst in modern times, for sure, because that was premeditated, brutality, no reason for it, none. Genghis Khan, obviously, and Mao, and they killed more. But boy, in 1934, this is what you're working on now? What do you think? All your research, what was the worst thing you saw?
I have to agree with the Holocaust. Mostly because the act is so insane in that they probably, they're starting to lose the war in 1942. They probably could have possibly won had they abandoned their persecution of the Jews. And when especially at the conference, they're not concerned about winning, really, and especially in 1944, they're concerned about just killing as many Jews as they can.
That was true. They wouldn't have won anyway, though, because they didn't have the capacity to keep
Right.
up with.
It was going to end no matter what. Eventually,
yeah, they could make the.
But on the way down, they said, "Listen, if we're going down,
we'll take everybody with us." Right.
Everybody with it, even the Germans. We write about that in the Hitler chapter. That on his last words, he said, "I can't believe the German people did this to me. They deserve what they get."
So I'm going to wrap this up by telling you that we're dealing with evil right now. I'm on the periphery of it with this Hamas thing. These guys are hardcore. These guys are ISIS, Al Qaeda. There's no difference. So anyway, look, you have a last word here, Hammer?
I want to thank everyone for reading Confronting Evil, everyone for watching. It was the professional experience of my life. I loved every second of it, and I will see everybody for the next one.
Yeah, we got Confronting America coming up this time next year. What has to change? So Hammer's going to be one busy boy.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's a tough book to write because it's very contemporary, and things are changing all over the place. And
but needed now more than ever.
Maybe we'll do the media book, but I'd have to write 10 books. I can't get all the evil.
I'm available.
No. All right, good job, Hammer.
Thank you.
Say hello to everybody in Brooklyn. Thank you all for being premium and concierge members. I hope you enjoy the evening, and we'll see you on Monday. New column on Sunday. Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News. Tuesday, September 27, 2022. Stand up for your country. Big day here. It's launch day, as they say in a publishing business, for Killing the Legends, the lethal danger of celebrity. It's not a gossip book, not a showbiz book. It's culture, American culture, the history of three men who changed our lives today. We are living a certain way today because of Elvis Presley, John Lennon, and Muhammad Ali. That is what the book's about. I'm going to tell you about it. Of course, a big mouth like me. It's the 12th Killing book, and I want to thank everybody. The Killing series, the most successful nonfiction book series in history of all time. 19 million copies of my books in print. I remember in the year 2000, and I didn't have any books published then. I go, am I ever going to get a book published? America is a great country. It's an amazing situation. But there is a political component to Killing the Legends, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The political component is Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I will get to that in a moment. They are not on the cover. On the cover is Elvis Presley, John Lennon, and Muhammad Ali. Let me tell you why. Let's just take Elvis. This is the most vivid. So, mid-1950s, post-World War II, Dwight Eisenhower president, everybody conforms. Okay? Conformity is the rule of the day in America. Crew cuts for the men, regular hairstyles for the women, wasn't any dissent to speak of. Everybody was pretty much doing the same thing. Teenager, Tupelo, Mississippi, high school grad, drives a truck, gets discovered in a local music studio, Sun Studios. He gets a call to come to New York to do the Ed Sullivan Show, by far and away the biggest show on a variety basis in America. Remember, TV has just come in. Elvis goes on the show. They shoot him from the waist up because he's swiveling the waist down. Girls are screaming. Ed is confused. Okay? Within 4 minutes, Elvis Presley blows up the entire culture of the United States of America. 4 minutes on that show. Pastors burn his records. tell their congregation the devil is putting out Elvis Presley. Parents forbid their sons to slick back their hair and snarl like Elvis. Culture war, wham! Who wins? Elvis wins. Elvis wins. He becomes the most successful entertainer in the world. 1964, John Lennon and the Beatles storm into New York City. Same thing, Ed Sullivan. From 64 to 70, the Beatles changed the culture again. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Still here. We weren't twisted anymore. We were growing the hair long and smoking pot. Beatles at the forefront. Muhammad Ali, the most magnificent athlete in the world, galvanizes both black and white Americans, but for African Americans, he is the chosen one. He advances the cause of civil rights. And then he becomes a prisoner to the Nation of Islam. All three men, Elvis Presley, John Lennon, Muhammad Ali, collapse under the weight of celebrity, crushed by it. All three lose control of their lives. All three, two of them wind up dead and the other diminished, and his life is never the same. Why? Because all three were betrayed at the highest level. And they lost control of their lives because of the celebrity. Now, they're not victims. They had to see what was happening. You don't become a heroin addict like John Lennon. He chose it. If you look at Elvis in 1967, when he made the comeback special dressed in all leather, check it out, and look at him 10 years later, Elvis had to know what was happening to him. No mirrors in Memphis. And Ali almost died, was almost killed by Joe Frazier in the Thriller in Manila. Yet, his manager, Herbert Mohammed, had him in the ring 4 months later when the doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, said, "You're going to kill him." All of that is in Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity. Fast forward to today. The two most famous men in this country, President Biden, Donald Trump. Biden is being crushed by the office. He cannot run this country. All his core principles were sold out to get that job. Every one of them. From crime to abortion to government spending, you name it, Biden sold it out to get the job because he wanted to be famous and powerful. Trump is so addicted to fame, he can't stay off the front pages of the newspaper. He's got to confront everything that comes his way. He's got to have that adrenaline of fame. And that has caused problems for him personally and for the country. All of this goes right back to fame is unnatural. Human beings cannot handle it. Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Michael Jackson, Princess Diana, Prince, John Belushi, Karen Carpenter, Legion. I could give you 50 more names. You get crushed, particularly in America now when the culture is so vicious. Don't believe me? Watch The View. This is the Disney Corporation putting on a hate fest every day. Those women don't like you, they'll try to destroy you. They'll defame you. Okay? This is a sport in America. Killing the Legends is a departure from what I usually do, but I will submit to you. It's one of the most important killing books. So I hope you check it out. I hope you let me know what you think. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity, out today. Okay. That is the memo, and let's get to your wallet. It's bad. It's bad. The economy in America is bad. There's no doubt about it now. So stocks have entered a bear market. What is a bear market? It's when the stock indexes are down 20% from their highs. We are in a bear market. We are dealing with inflation at 10%. They'll say it's 8.3 or 8.6 or whatever. It's about 10. When you add everything into what you have to pay now, as opposed to 2 years ago. Think about it. Think about it. 2 years ago, this country was vibrant economically, energy independent, exporting energy, making money everywhere. Every demographic group was rising in wages. Inflation was 1.3% just 2 years ago. Americans voted emotion. They put a man in to the White House who is incompetent, who is crushed, as I said, by his responsibilities. He can't run this country. And so all of us are suffering. That is where we are. Joe Biden today, he did nothing as usual. Nothing. Every day we give you a schedule, and every day he doesn't do anything because he's incapable of it. Inflation at its highest level in 40 years, interest rates skyrocketing, we all know that. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, not only predict a recession, but are using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. So, you need to call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Please call them today, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. They have thousands of satisfied customers, are the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Please call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. So let's bring in a guy now who knows a lot about the economy. His name is Lou Dobbs. You may have heard of Lou Dobbs. He is the host of the Great America Show with Lou Dobbs. If he's the host, that would make sense. And he joins us now from his farm in New Jersey, where he's growing food to survive whatever is coming. All right. Did I overdo it on the economic analysis?
No, I don't think so. And by the way, Killing the Legends, that was one heck of a sales pitch. I'm going to be buying several copies right away. Bill, I mean, that's an amazing concept that you came up with. And I know the book will do it, like all your others, will do amazing. So congratulations on the book. In terms of the economy, right now we're in a place we've never been before. We have, as you say, double-digit inflation, even though the CPI puts it at 8.3, 8.5. And a president who says it's zero because it doesn't move 1 month, June to July. It's preposterous. We have a man we have to pretend is able, not impaired, in the White House, who reminds us daily of just how impaired he is and how dire the situation is when he doesn't even understand the impact or the consequences, or doesn't care about the impact or the consequences of his economic policy. The lavish spending is an understatement that this president has undertaken. We will be paying for this for a very long time. Many people don't know, Bill. $31 trillion in national debt, trillions of dollars more than the size of the GDP itself. That hasn't happened since World War II. And we are in severe straits for so many reasons.
Okay, what are you, who's worked hard all his life, and you have investments, as most of us do, what are you doing now?
Well, one of the things that's impossible to resist is the short-term treasuries. Those short treasury bills are paying almost 4%. for 6 months, 9 months. And if you want to go further out, you just simply lose money because we're still in an inverted yield curve. So I would say that the most appealing investment right now are those short-term treasuries for people. It's safe. You still have to pay taxes on it, but it's an awfully good return. And it's as I say, in these times, it's safe, and that's worth a whole lot of money.
Now, there are some people who are trying to buy the market down. They say, well, it's got to come back, so we'll get low prices. Is that smart, do you think?
For some people, it's smart because they have the capital to do so. Picking a bottom is a dangerous thing for anyone to do. I've tried it over the course of 40 years, and I've missed by some sizable margins along the way. But you also historically know that that market will come back. It just changes some people from short-term investors to long-term investors. If you've got sufficient capital, as always, what you put in the market should be excess capital. It is, it's a
gamble. You're gambling, and
exactly.
Right. Now, most people have 401ks. I shouldn't say most, but many people have 401ks, and they get their monthlies, and it's dropping. It's dropping. I don't even look. I can't. I'll cry. I don't even look. And what makes me mad is I predicted everything that's happened. Before the 2020 election, I predicted if Biden wins, this is what's going to happen. 100% across the board. And I went, oh, like this. And every time I see my liberal friends, I take a hammer out and they run away. But this is pain because people need retirement money. They need college money. I mean, Biden's going to run up a $500 billion college loan forgiveness debt, but that's not close to what it is. And you need funds, and people are very, very worried. Is there anything you can say to those people to bring the apprehension level down?
I can say that we've seen new homes sell again. That's the first time that's happened in 6 months. We see spots of what I would call hopeful signals, but not many and not enough we're still in a recession. There's no doubt about that. We've had 2 consecutive quarters of contracting economy. That is by whoever wants to define it any way they want. Remember, this president has a lawyer for his chief economics advisor. So that tells you how interested he is in the realities of the economy. But we're in recession. It's going to be a while before we get out, in my opinion. It could be next year. We are also in hyperinflation, as you put it, and hyperinflation to me is anything approaching double digit. And we're just going to have to, as I say, we're going to have to hunker down here because that's what corporations are doing. They're laying people off. The Federal Reserve is raising rates at levels that are unprecedented. And it's the same old nonsense from the Federal Reserve. I thought Jerome Powell had learned his lesson, Bill, but he didn't under Trump. When he started raising rates in advance of the market, he got hammered, and so did President Trump for a short period of time. But Trump was a better economist than Jerome Powell ever hoped to be. And certainly this Fed now is basically saying to the working man and woman in this country, the hell with you. He said,
yeah, that's absolutely right. And many of them don't even know that. They don't even know they're getting the finger from the White House. And just one aside, Trump had Larry Kudlow. Right. That was a key because Kudlow knows the economy. He knows the supply side and how to grow the capitalist economy. Final question. There are many, many Americans on the conservative traditional side who firmly believe, Biden and the Democrats want to tank the capitalistic system to impose a quasi-socialism. Big government runs the economy from Washington. Do you believe that?
Yeah, there's nothing quasi-socialist about this. This is a Marxist ideology at work, and there is no way in the world. Think about this, Bill. There's not a single policy that this administration has pursued that you can demonstrate to anyone is in the national interest, whether it's an open border, whether it is sky-high prices, whether it is diminished independence on energy. I mean, we are.
It's awful. And then you go with the crime and the wokeism. It never ends. But even though it's awful, the polling has this, it's not like a mass repudiation of the Biden administration, the Democratic Party. It's not what's happening. I think it's because many of our fellow American voters are dumb. They don't know anything and they don't want to know anything. Last word.
Well, they're being accommodated by a national mockingbird press and media that doesn't want them to know and wants them to be beguiled and shielded from truth. That's breaking down because of shows like yours, mine, and others that are not dependent upon the corporate media for our existence and for our
I'm so glad I'm out. I don't know about you, but I'll never go back to court ever in a million years. Look, if you want to find Lou, it's very simple. LouDobbs.com. LouDobbs.com. You go there. It's like BillO'Reilly.com. Everything Lou is there. Pictures of him on his tractor with radishes or whatever you do on the farm. I don't know. But LouDobbs.com. Thanks for helping us out, Lou. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. Great to see you.
Do you care about your privacy? Giant tech companies and different alphabet agencies within the U.S. government are spying on our messages, abusing our privacy, monetizing our data. Frankly, you are probably not paying enough attention to what's going on, and neither am I. Secure, spelled SEKUR, has proprietary technology allowing you to send messages and emails encrypted and hosted in Switzerland. This means they are not subject to the Cloud Act. They're only subject to Swiss laws, which are some of the safest in the world. Secure is a company that actually cares about your freedom and privacy. That's why they built this platform and why they are sponsoring my program. Best of all, they are offering 15% off when you use promo code BILL. So please go to secure.com, that's SEKUR.com, use promo code BILL. For less than $10, you can get Secure today. And finally today, the final thought, look at the terror dog, 7 years old today. Holly the terror dog, right Holly? Give me a little snack. Give Holly a little snack, little birthday snack. So Holly has an interesting history. I got her in Georgia. She is a Welsh Pembroke Corgi. Very hard to get full bred in the USA. I had to go all the way to Georgia. And Holly is a good dog, right? You're a good dog. Good watchdog. The downside is you have to have a vacuum cleaner in every room, and not a little one, a giant vacuum cleaner, because Holly sheds, right? All over the place. But a very gentle dog, good for kids, cute dog, right? Look at that. She is the marketing face of BillO'Reilly.com. I know. Okay, you get another snack in a little while. And Holly's a good dog. So I can't really say much else. It's her birthday. Those of you listening on the radio, you can't see Holly, but she's enormously cute. But you can go to BillO'Reilly.com. We have a nice picture posted, right, Holly? So we're going to have a good time tonight. Holly's got some presents. And do you have another snack for her? Okay. Another snack for the good dog. 7 years old. That's 49 years in people years, but she is still very energetic. It's almost like a puppy. Almost like a puppy. I know. Okay, all right. We're wrapping it up. Say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for watching and listening to the No Spin News. We'll see you tomorrow. Bill O'Reilly here. As you have probably heard, I recently started a new weekly program called Shock and Awe, exclusively on VidGo. Now, I want to share more exciting news. Right now, right this moment, when you sign up for VidGo, you'll also get a copy of my new book, Killing the Legends, free. But that's not all. VidGo will give you $15 off each month of your premium VidGo subscription. Now, to sign up for VidGo and get your free book and discount, please go to vidgo.com/BillBook. I'll remind you again, when you sign up now for Vidgo, you will get a free copy of Killing the Legends and $15 off your monthly premium Vidgo subscription. Vidgo doesn't have just my program. They have all kinds of live sports, news, and entertainment program that you want. Please go to vidgo.com/Bill. Book. Sign up today.